It's voting season here in the U.S. As humans, we get out our ballots and our pens to participate in democracy. But honeybees do things a bit differently. When they want to vote on something that affects the whole hive, they look to the stars, namely Kevin Bacon, John Travolta, and Fred Astaire. In short, they dance. But whose dance will win the nomination? Well, it's all in the gusto. And sometimes gusto is all you need to make your voice heard here in life, death, and taxonomy.
Welcome to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I am Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify.
And thank you to Johanna for the creation of this week's artwork. To check that out, you can visit us at our home on the web at lttaxonomy.com. And a very special thank you to our patrons, to Jesse Raspolich, Carol Raspolich, Richard Kaspar, Lottie and Aubrey, Gray Hughes, and Wednesday Rabbit. Thank you so much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on.
And today we're talking about a species that is a cornerstone of civilization, but more on that later.
Yeah. Keystone species for everything, it seems. Until we get robots to do it for us. But what are we talking about?
We're talking about the honeybee. An extremely famous animal.
Yeah, that's up there in the pantheon of famous animals. But we've covered bees before, but we haven't covered the honeybee, the one and only. We're gonna call it here the honey hustler, the buzz cauldron, and dancing with the jars, the honey jars.
Jar Knights, Alexander, Jar Warrior.
Dancing with the jars is a little bit more accessible to to the average listener than Alexander the Jar Warrior.
Warrior Jar.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of Buzz Cauldron, but whatever.
Cool. What else do you wanna hear? What science has to call it?
I would like a science, please. Put that
What's
science
in
right
the
in my pocket.
domain eukaryota, in case that was up for debate? It's
I'm
in the
not
kingdom
debating it.
you know, love, and are in, a kingdom, Animalia. The phylum is Arthropoda. Immediately, something you're not in anymore. The class is Insecta. The order, Hymenoptera. And the family is Apidae. I think, what are we getting into? Wasp and bee. No, that's just bee. Honey and bumble. And carpenter and cuckoo.
Okay. Chop here. Edit this part out. This monitor, well, most monitors beep constantly when they run low on battery. So whether you have them, I would have to turn it off. Okay.
It's in the family. It's in the genus Apis. That's apes. Just kidding.
That's
bees.
That's bees.
It's in the species Mellifera. Apis mellifera? Mellifera, you will say?
Mellifera, maybe, yeah.
Maleficent?
Well, since we're in the business of naming things and business is good, It's time for my favorite part of the show, nitty-gritty nomenclature, which is the part of the show where I ask you, Joe, what is the English translation for the nomenclature, for the binomial nomenclature, Apis mellifera or mellifera? What does that mean? Does that mean A, flower visiting messenger, B, honey carrying bee, C, intelligent queen, or D, tall black flower?
What was the first two?
Flower visiting messenger and honey carrying bee.
Honey carrying bee? Oh man, I'm gonna go with honey. No, they don't carry honey. Honey carrying bee. Final answer.
That's correct.
Yes.
Honey carrying bee. Mellifera is, well, melly is honey. Fera is where the word from fairy comes from, to transport. And apis is bee. It's just the word for bees.
Yeah, I thought, because that makes sense, because the little yellow pollen sacs they have on their knees.
You might think that's the honey.
Knees.
That is the bee's knees.
Yeah.
All right, you got some general info?
I have a description of them. Here's what they look like. They are generally reddish brown, or red or brown, and with black bands and orange-yellow rings on their abdomen. They're black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. From a distance, they can appear blackish or rich dark brown. Their bodies are covered in hair, but it's not hair. It's chitin or whatever.
Chitin.
Chitin. Chitin. Sounds like a Southern comfort food.
I'm gonna eat me some grits and chitin.
Yeah. They have more hair, quote unquote, on their thorax and less on their abdomen. The thorax is in the middle section of the body where the wings are coming out. It looks like they're wearing like a little coat, a little fur coat. They have 4 clear wings attached to their thorax, and their legs are mostly dark brown and black and include a pollen basket on the knee or on the close to the one of the segments of the hind leg. So yeah,
that's the bee's
honey
knees.
Carrying. It looks like a little smackerel of honey. Winnie the Pooh would enjoy.
But it's pollen. It's not honey.
It's pollen. Yeah. I love a fuzzy little bug. And they've got also like big black smooth eyes. So they look there is a cuteness to them, even though they are alien when you look up close. There is a cuteness, like you see just a little fuzzy animal with big black wet eyes.
Yeah, and then you see the mouth parts, and you're like, never mind. Cuteness gone. It has
Their
mandibles.
Mouth parts aren't that bad because they're small. They still have a little fuzz on them, and they've got like little tongues. So they've almost got like tonguish mouth parts with like the big nasty mandibles aren't quite as obvious on them. But
that's nice.
Let's talk about their size and dimensions. Welcome to the Love and Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show. The part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show when you send in audio of yourself saying, singing, or sharing the words of Measure Up into ldtextonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new Measure Up intro this week, but that means we get to hear from an animal, and Carlos has to guess what it is. Also, vote for your favorite segment of the show.
Please do.
Groups, or Measure Up if you sign up on. You can vote any way by email or rigged voting machines. But if you
Critter Groups / Nitty Gritty Nomenclature.
Yeah.
And GN Studios.
And if you go on Patreon and sign up for free or for money, you can do either. Your vote counts twice.
That's why the voting machines are rigged. It's pay to win. Or don't pay. Just sign up. Join us on Patreon, please.
Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show.
I can't. How should I start it? You like jazz? No, that's no good. Here she comes.
I knew you were gonna pick that one. Well, actually, I thought that you were gonna pick that one. I mean, I thought you knew that I knew. I was gonna assume that, and you were gonna find some sort of obscure, like Hanna-Barbera B or something like that.
No, I could not resist. You like jazz.
Do you like jazz?
It's like a famous meme line from that meme movie.
That is more of that movie than I've ever heard or seen. Just now.
I've seen it one time, and in hindsight, it is the weirdest. It is a man in love with a bee in love with a woman.
It's not a person. It's not a man who turned into a bee.
No, it's a regular bee.
That is very weird. Does she love him back?
Kind of. Yeah.
How does the movie end?
I can't remember.
It was like 2006, so I think we're good spoiling it.
I really don't remember.
I've never been that big of a fan of Jerry Seinfeld, and it didn't look like that interesting of a movie to me. And if you set your movie in New York City, I've already kind of lost interest. So a little bit. Like, it's not that if your movie's in New York City, I'm not gonna watch it, but you've been docked a few points. Not that I have anything particular against New York City, but everything is set in New York City, and it's just a really boring setting for me to watch yet another thing in. Home Alone 2 is about where I'll draw the line. and anything Spider-Man. Home Alone 2 and anything Spider-Man.
There's a plot line where Barry B. Benson takes humanity to court for killing bees or exploiting the environment, something like that. I don't know. This is AI. I don't remember any of this. AI is summarizing the end of the movie for me, and I don't remember any of it. But anyway, that's that. Let's get into the worker length, the length of a worker bee, which is a female that is not a queen. They're 10 to 15 millimeters, or 0.4 to 0.6 inches. How many workers are the same length as... honeybee workers are the same length as a half of the diameter of a can of tuna. B, 1/12 the height of a 40-ounce bottle of Good and Gather Clover honey.
Good and Gather, Target brand.
Yeah, it's still. I had to verify, and it's the only one that I could get dimensions.
You can't get dimensions of the bear, the one that's shaped like a bear, the most famous honey bottle you could possibly think of, with a little yellow dunce cat.
I know, we didn't have one. The thickness of a USDA certified cut of prime rib.
Prime rib.
Final answer?
Yes.
The correct answer was B. The Good and Gather Clover.
Good and Gather.
I literally got a measuring tape out to measure our Good and Gather honey.
I thought that was a red herring. I measured it to make sure it was wrong.
No, I usually do look stuff up, but I probably wouldn't get out the measuring tape for a wrong one. Honey, let's talk about the queen size. So it turns out drones are slightly larger than workers. Didn't know that. I thought drones were little. Queens, though, are 18 to 20 millimeters. So 5 millimeters larger than a worker. or 0.7 to 0.8 inches. Honeybee queens are the same length as A. 1/15 the imperial state crown. B. 79 panko breadcrumbs on average. Or C. 125th Freddie Mercury.
Length again.
20 millimeters or 0.8 inches.
0.8 inches. Okay, it's not Freddie Mercury. See, I can do some math here. Seems like that would unless Freddie Mercury was like 8.5 feet tall. And they failed to represent him his just gargantuan height in Bohemian Rhapsody. So must be one of the other two. Panko breadcrumbs. Final answer.
The correct answer is 1/15 the imperial state crown. Here's the fact. The imperial state crown is the crown jewels of the United Kingdom. It's the state crown of the crown jewels. The crown jewels are in the state crown, imperial state crown. It has existed in various forms since the 15th century, and it is 12.4 inches tall. Now you know that.
I do know that.
Are you ready for some fast facts before we get into the big fact?
Yes.
Snack pack fact.
You're making me hungry.
Ooh.
Panko breadcrumbs and snack packs.
They were all themed, except for panko breadcrumbs. I just thought that was a funny thing to compare it to. I was literally
Very
sitting
specific.
on the couch with Johanna, and I was like asking Johanna, "What's smaller than a bee?" And she was giving me other bugs, and I was like, "Not another bug." And
she said panko breadcrumbs. The thickness of a Starlight mint.
The western honeybee is native to Europe, Western Asia, and Africa. But they can be found all over the world because of human introduction. So if you say, but I live in the United States and I've seen a honeybee, that's possible. Yeah, probably. They are big-time pollinators. Honeybees are crucial for pollinating flowers, fruits, and vegetables, helping plants grow, and transferring pollen between the male and female parts of a plant. So that's why they're like crucial for civilization. We literally need them to grow stuff.
Until we get robots to do it for us. How hard can it be to take pollen from one plant and put it in another? Bees are overrated.
We just need thousands of self-replicating, self-perpetuating
nanobots.
robots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hundreds and hundreds of thousands.
I've seen Big Hero 6. We can do it.
They live in hives. They're eusocial, which means they have a monarch. No,
they're Europe social. That's what that means.
They live in like a colony, a society that acts as a unit, and has a caste system. I can only think of it in terms of human societies, but hives typically have one queen, thousands of worker bees, and several drones. Several hundred drones, not just like a handful. Several hundred drones.
The elite.
And they famously, of course, make honey. A single worker bee produces 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey in its lifetime. Did you know that?
That's pathetic.
That's really sad.
This is really sad.
If you drip some honey on the floor, that might represent the entire life of a bee.
Life work of a single bee.
I hope you have a dog to enjoy that at least. Honeybees famously perform a waggle dance to communicate the location of food
That
resources.
is my major fact.
Never mind. They don't do that. Unless they do, and we'll talk about it later. Worker bees live for about 5 to 6 weeks, while queens can live up to 5 years. Imagine your monarch living that many times your lifespan.
Yeah, that is ridiculous.
Oh, wise one. Tell us.
What is the that would be interesting to calculate out. Well, you said 2 weeks?
5 to 6. So 6
5 to
weeks divided
6
by
weeks.
5 years.
So that's about 8, or about we'll say 9 lifespans of a bee, normal bee, in a year. So that's 45 times.
And divided by 5 is 52. So yeah.
Oh, I guess it's a little more.
52 times.
Yeah, 52. Okay, so 52 times a normal lifespan for a human, let's say 80 years. That means at the end of that, it's like if we had a monarch that finally died after living 4,160 years.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Oh, wise one, indeed.
That would mean...
Do we ever question the wisdom of someone like that?
We would have a Persian, like Ashurbanipal would be our president.
Well, yeah,
or what's his name?
not Persian.
Artaxerxes.
No, that was way before that. Artaxerxes was like what, 700 BC? We're talking 2000 BC at this point. We're talking Ramses. This is like Moses time. 4,000 years ago.
Oh, you're right. He was like 400 BC. Yeah, wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah, so
Artaxerxes.
yeah, this would be Ramses time. We don't our Gilgamesh time. Heavens. Imagine if Ramses the second was finally died after being president of Egypt for 4,000 years.
Oh my gosh.
All right, we've talked about this enough.
Honeybees can fly at speeds of around 15 to 20 miles per hour. You can't escape a bee.
No, you can't
escape a bee.
I mean, Usain Bolt certainly can, but for a little bit.
Each bee has 170 odorant receptors. So they have a really highly developed sense of smell, which is why they can smell your fear. Just kidding. But they can smell like indicators of fear, probably. Like sweat. A single hive can house between 20,000 to 60,000 bees. So how many spoonfuls of honey is that? We don't know, because drones probably don't make honey. I don't know. Who makes honey? Workers, I'm assuming, only make honey.
Yeah. Although I did see some stories of hives with like 500,000 bees.
What?
10 times the average. Like I read a story of one guy who said there are some bees in my house, and his wall was a beehive. It was like 20 feet high, and it was in his wall.
There's a buzzing.
It's like, yeah, like Why is my whole house humming constantly? I can't even hear myself think.
Yeah, you'd have to imagine that there's a hum in that situation.
That sound would make my skin crawl. The sound of 500,000 bees.
But how would it get to 500,000 before you notice bee sounds?
You're deaf? Partially deaf?
Maybe.
Maybe you. I think it was like he inherited. Well, like his mother had lived there and she died, and he was like he was going there and taking care of her, but maybe he didn't notice, and maybe there's just like, oh, there's some bees outside. There might be a hive like up in the soffit or something like that. Is like, nope. A load-bearing wall is made of bees in your house.
This place is being held up by bees.
By bees. Crucial to civilization and crucial to the structural integrity of your home.
That's all I got for that.
Well, I do
there's also more facts about colony collapse and the issues facing bees and thus our civilization. But yeah, we'll leave that for another time. Or no.
Yeah, it's 9-year-olds that keep stepping on bees. We gotta. They're the biggest threat to civilization.
Have you ever seen videos of the Texas bee lady?
No.
Texas Bee Works. It's this woman that like for a living goes and removes bees. She does bee removal services, but she doesn't like kill them because we need them. She goes and like removes the hive usually by like collecting the queen and putting it in a temporary like hive box, and then once you take the queen and move it, the entire hive will move into the bee box, and then you can just take it home.
That's how that's what they'll do sometimes when someone has like a bee beard, which is something I don't think there's an amount of money you could pay me to do. Mm-hmm. But they will, they'll do it with pheromones, but sometimes they'll just put a necklace with a queen in a tiny box in around your neck, and the whole hive will form on your chest and neck. Yeah. That is that makes me a little nauseous to even to watch or think about. But as long as there is no hive, they're generally not very aggressive. Did you know that? If you see a bunch of bees just kind of cluster around like on something, but they don't have anything to defend, it's not like they're just gonna like swarm you or chase you like they do in the movies. But if they have a hive, they will chase you.
Unless you have smoke for some reason.
They don't like that. No, it pacifies them.
There's a fire somewhere. Let's put away our petty differences here. We gotta figure something out.
I guess it depends on what they're smoking. Maybe they've got a medical card crazy. For it. Yeah. All right. So this major fact we're calling dancing democracy, or / Bees Louise pull me off of Bees knees. Bees Louise pull me off of Bees knees. So they dance. In case you didn't gather that, from what I just sang, they have this specific dance called the waggle dance, and that's their method of communicating with each other, probably because they would have to shout over all the buzzing that's happening. And this dance is actually a really complicated and specific form of communication. It's performed by scout bees that will they fly out, and I mean, bees are going in and out of the hive all the time, obviously, to collect pollen. But there are scout bees that are specifically looking for places with more pollen or better locations for just general locations for the hive, like maybe a better protected area, or a place with more flowering plants where they could get those resources. And so all these represent potential new sites for the hive. And a scout bee that finds a good place will go back to the hive. It'll do this kind of figure 8 pattern, this kind of infinity sign pattern, while waggling its rump. And this by going in a figure 8 pattern, its rump will face 360 directions, 360 degrees at some point. Every direction is covered as though it were going in a circle. Once its rear faces the direction of the new location, it will start its dance. It'll do its dance. So it'll go in a figure 8 and then bzz, as it passes as it's like a clock that buzzes whenever it hits the 2 kind of thing. And that way that's telling everyone, like, hey, 2:00. That's where we should set up the new hive. And this is in relation to the sun. So that's how they know which way they're going. And it's all relative to where the sun is at a given moment. So it's like, okay, 2:00 in relation to the sun right now, and then someone else will say, oh, I found one at 4:00 in relation to the sun. And how long they do this dance communicates how far the location is. So maybe they'll do 10 reps, and they haven't codified it yet. So it's not like researchers are like, oh, they did 10 reps, that's 10 kilometers away or something like that. But the bees know, they've codified it in their insect brains.
So we could not find a new hive location or field of flowers yet by looking at a bee dance.
We could get their direction, that's for sure, and then probably go
walk in the direction until you find whatever
a reasonable distance for a bee to fly in one day is. That's your looking range. And I'm sure that they've gotten like close, but there's no like 1-to-1. Like, it may be because, and I don't know this for sure. It may be because it varies from hive to hive. Like, oh, this one does 5 reps, and that means it's a mile away. This other hive does 5 reps, and that always means that it's 2 miles away. I don't know. Whatever. Again, don't know that for sure, but that's just my assumption for a reason why we there isn't like a chart where you can say waggle reps. You can put in waggle reps in one side and get a distance on the other side. Also, the intensity of the dance, how much gusto you put into this waggle will show your confidence in your site location. Like, wow, I found a really great spot. It's protected under like a dead tree. There's tons of the best kinds of flowers, my favorite kinds of flowers. And so you're gonna waggle like crazy. If you're feeling like
so skeptical of that.
If you are you if you're if you're a bit mid about it, if you're just like I mean, it was pretty good. If we don't have anything else, like this would be a good spot. You're gonna kind of give it. You're gonna you're gonna half do it.
How do we know this?
Bees are one of the most studied animals
Fair enough.
ever. So other bees will look at the dance, and so like a bunch of scout bees will go out and they'll come back, and they'll all have their like, hey, I found this different spot, and then other bees will look at them and like, oh, this is Trisha, the bee, is dancing with much gusto. Let's check it out. So they will go and follow Trisha to the spot that she found. And if it's good, then those scout bees will come back and do the same exact dance that Trisha did. And the more bees that put in their vote, the more likely the hive will move. So there is they can sense, using their insect brains, that there's a quorum. It's they know that enough bees, that they have the Senate majority, the 66 whatever percent, 2/3 vote, and the queen will move, and the hive will make the collective decision to move with her to the new nest site. They will cluster together. They will prime their bodies before flight, because it's going to be it might be a longer journey. And they will remember the dance that they saw from at that point a large percentage of the hive dancing the same dance, and then that will give them the information they need to travel to the new location. And they can just this allows them to just constantly move to wherever the best sorts of resources are, and not to have to guess. They send out a bunch of bees, they all come back, and then they, through this process, this democratic voting process, they will find the one that's the best within a day's bee flight. So very interesting to me, very complicated stuff. Step aside dolphins. These are the communicators of the animal kingdom. But basically it's like a code. It's more like ones and zeros to them, than communicating anything. Because all it is communicating specific information. It is this far away. It is, I guess, it's this good, whatever that means.
Yeah, that's what I was skeptical about.
I mean, if they see a lot of pollination opportunities, then that's going to make that bee excited, and then they will dance excitedly. So, I can see that. And they'll get the attention of more bees who will follow them, and then that'll just kind of snowball. Because it's a more vigorous dance. But yeah, that's the secret of the honeybee.
There's so much judgment going on, like the requirement of judgment. A bee has to look at a field and judge. This is good, and this is not just good or bad, but a gradation of good, a continuum of good. Because I have to dance specifically to indicate how good, and then they go back, and then the bees watching them have to make a judgment based on the dance, how good this thing is. And then when there's enough, there's a collective judgment when there is enough bees that we're going to actually move. So there's so much like stuff that you don't think insects are capable of going on here.
Yeah, it's like they're like watching this, and it's almost like it flips switches in their head because they're not intelligent, but they do have like these mechanisms to be able to recognize specific changes in their environment. So when the queen recognizes that like a certain amount of the colony is dancing the same dance, then it's like, all right, time to move. Like that's my instinct is to move now. In using the information from the dance to reach the destination, it is 20 degrees north by northwest, and it's half a mile away. We'll find it. And I don't know about the judgment on like this is a good spot. Maybe it's like because they go out and it must be the number of flowers that they see, and bees see like pollen in infrared or something like that. Like they can see. To them, it stands out a lot more. The colors of the flowers are a lot more vibrant than the greens and browns of things that don't matter as much to them. So when they go in a direction, and like you can, like if you've ever watched like a thing on honeybees, they'll like simulate what they see, and it's like it looks like thermal when they simulate it, and with the flowers being the glowing parts. So they go in a direction and they just see like tons of like a big thermal mass basically to them. And then they're going to go back and like, I just saw a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. So they're not judging like, all right, this one's got a good field here. There's a hole in the log here we could put ourselves in. And I haven't seen any predator. They're not like, there's not like multiple. They're not like, a realtor judging by multiple factors at once. It may.
Well, I saw that they do. If they see a protected area, they like that as well. So I don't know. I don't know if they can see predators, or like. I mean, obviously they can't see all the predators, and there aren't a ton of great predators for a hive of 50,000 angry bees. So, right. Like, even bears have to pick their hives carefully. Honey badgers don't. They don't care at all. But yeah, that's bees. We didn't even talk about the fact that if they sting you, they die. Why? Why have that? Why not have a multi-factor authentication?
Because it leaves the sac in to continuously pump venom into you. But in so doing, it rips out of the bee.
Have you been stung by a bee versus a wasp? Wasps are so much worse. Just inject more venom this time. You think that they would adapt to inject more venom in order to survive attacking something, and then to go on to propagate the hive more, and those bees would be more likely to.
Well, whatever workers
degenerate.
Don't propagate, or well, they don't like.
They create the food that propagates.
But I mean, what's the difference? What is it? It's a few weeks, so. If you give your life defending the hive, then it's well spent.
I guess I guess if you only live for a few weeks, if we once again want to extrapolate it out to a human life, that means you spent like the better part of a year just going from your hive to the person you're going to go kill.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Just in the few seconds it takes for them to get
Macaulay Culkin, yeah.
Just in the few seconds it takes to fly from your hive to the target is the equivalent of going on a year voyage to your assassination target.
All right.
But yeah, that was as the honeybee. For you out there in Podcastia, go collect some pollen, find a new home for your people, and democratically vote on a new home using topographically accurate Tookus stances like the honeybee here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, I just want to remind you that we now have a Patreon. Patrons can see full video episodes and get shoutouts on the show. But ultimately, it's a way for you to help us cover some costs and get even better. Still, reviews are the best way to help us grow. So if you haven't left one yet, we'd really love to hear from you. As always, thanks for listening and engaging.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
Did we talk about elevation?
No, topographic. It's just the funniest word I could say.
That would be wild.